Well, I can't quite believe that I was the movement director on this show because I haven't done movement direction for a long time. So I did quite a lot of movement at the beginning of my career. I'd gone and trained in Poland, which was very sort of rigorous, shall we say, and there was a lot of lifting and a lot of, but it gave me a lot of techniques about how to animate a room, get people comfortable with each other, comfortable with lifting, so quite a robust way of working. But this play, The Empress, needed so much more than that and certainly needed some actual skills that I didn't have. And it was the first time we'd worked together. And in fact, I had seen you originally as a dancer. So I'd met Ankur in a DV8 show, absolutely blew the whole show away. He was amazing. And I thought, well, I want to work with that man. And it was a great chance to meet you and use your choreographic skills and your training in Bharatanatyam. Did I say it correctly?
You did. You
well
did.
Done. So I think what I was doing was very much theatre movement, getting people working together, getting the room oiled, I would say, and really working as an ensemble. But what Ankur brought was some beautiful, culturally important meaning to that. And then when it blended, it was amazing. I mean, the final bit when we had all the actors performing the dance that you taught them to an English hymn, oh my goodness, I've got all the feels again. It's just amazing. But talk about what you brought, because that's your childhood training, wasn't it?
Well, I think that what's really important about the difference on this particular production, the difference between movement direction and choreography was I did a set piece. So in the play where Tanika writes, if you can't go to India, we'll bring India to you. That was the task. How do we bring India to Queen Victoria and the audience in this moment? So I worked on that specific bit. All the other staging, the movement comes from Emma and through a devised process in the room. I'd grown up studying Bharatanatyam in an Indian diasporic community in California, right? So I grew up in California studying this ancient South Indian classical dance form. And you know, like most of the performers or collaborators in Emma's work, we bring our personal stories and our personal skills with us. And then we use them to we use them in whatever ways are helpful to tell the story. And if we were going to bring India to Queen Victoria and to the audience in that moment, it felt really important to not bring Bollywood, which is one not of that moment, but also a magpie tradition of pulling all sorts of things together, but something that was really rooted in what is considered a very long traditional classical Indian history. But also what's really interesting about choosing Bharatanatyam, one, it's because it's what I brought to the room, but two, it's a old temple dance tradition in the Hindu tradition, right? And you think about this story and all the Indians that are in this story. You've got Abdul Karim, who's a Muslim. You've got Dadabai, who's a Parsi. You've got all the Hindu characters. This is a very traditional Hindu temple dance. It's not a court dance like Kathak might be, right? So you make very specific choices about what you're trying to place in the space, and you don't expect the audience to know that or need to know that. But what it does is it adds a layer of depth to the storytelling, what Emma and Tanika are trying to do with the play.
It was also, I mean, the actors loved it, all of the actors of all backgrounds. And I think it brought a spirituality. Like you say, it was a deep tradition and a deep spirituality. And the play soaked that up, but the company soaked that up as well. We felt that we were doing something important. And it was, you know, these stories had not been told, our minds were being blown. And then to also learn the discipline and deep meaningfulness of this dance felt really precious as well. And it felt true, the authenticity was there because Ankur brought it absolutely through his family and through his experience. So it felt like a really vital, meditative part of our day. And I don't remember any sort of disruption, and there's a lot of disruption in theatre rooms. That's what it's all about. You know, we're there to subvert,
especially in your rooms.
And I love it. I love naughty people and encourage it. But actually, this really brought us together. It did anchor the work and the meaning amazingly. I've got such heartfelt memories of it.
I think what's really interesting as well, working in this way with a movement director and a choreographer, is there's a real respect for movement in the room. Oftentimes you can get into rooms where you're working on a play where it is just about the words and about how you have that relationship through the storytelling. And that's a very specific type of theatre. But in this case, from the very first day, everyone in the company was spending part of their day doing Bharatanatyam training. And then that was built day upon day upon day to the final number that you see at the end of the production. Whereas oftentimes, I think where dance, choreography, movement can fail in a production is where you just tack it on at the end. You go, oh, we've sold the play, and now will you do this thing? Then it feels like a gesture. Whereas this was always, from Emma's process, really integral to the process, and therefore felt really authentic to the story, but also the production. And when you add it to Stu Barker's beautiful composition and Shima Mukherjee on the sitar, and you bring all of these things together, it spoke to the harmony that we were trying to create between a very Indian story, a very colonial story, a very contemporary story. How you brought all of those things together, we tried to do with the movement in that particular circumstance.
And it felt, it came at the end. I've talked about the spiritual nature, but that harmony that you've talked about, it came at the end when Victoria had died. It was sad. The way Abdul Karim was treated is shockingly appalling. Yeah. And I felt that because we'd worked on this dance for so many weeks, is that all of that came together with such power and genuine passion. It wasn't acted passion. We were passionate about this play, and we could show that through the hard work that we'd done in learning. And it was, I feel quite touched thinking about it. And we used to cry, didn't we? It was so moving in the end. It was so moving.
The specificity that is required of a dance form like Bharatanatyam, for example, you have a room full of actors who all come with different abilities, different relationships to movement, to dance. And you'd be like, okay, so just think the whole body, but just think of the hands. The hands, this is a kataka, right? And we were like, you're gonna hold your hands like this. It's not this. It's not this, and every actor in the room was going, okay, I'm gonna try and do this to the best of my ability. Just that, and then you have the arms, then you have the body, then you have the legs, then you have the look. Everyday training in that really rigorous way meant we as a company brought something different to the production, I'd like to think.
Oh, 100%, and of course, the activity of learning, the humility of learning, the thrill of getting it right is really what bonds an ensemble as well, is, we could look each other in the eye and go, we did this. And I mean, it was such a low level. I'm sure if your mum saw it, she'd be like, But
no, that was how we built it as well, right? Because we built it, we were like, okay, these folks don't have a ton of confidence, so give them 4 counts of 8 that they can repeat over and over and over again and feel really confident with. These folks, much more comfortable, give them 8 counts of 8, and then here's a solo, and you build it compositionally so that everyone feels like they're bringing their best self to the room, right? And that was really important. It wasn't that everyone had to be the best dancer, it was just that everyone could contribute to this set piece in a way that felt confident. Because there's nothing worse than an actor having this fantastic performance and then having choreography put on them that just makes them feel weak or makes them feel like they can't tell the story. That's the worst.
Whereas this was the opposite. We were like a sort of army of people that believed in this thing. And as I say, the meaning is, and that's when you become invulnerable. It's why we do theatre. It's greater than the sum of its parts. The play is greater than the sum of its parts, and that's certainly what the company did.